in what now appears to be an ongoing operation. North Korea has sent more of its trash-carrying balloons across the border to South Korea. This time, according to South Korean authorities, at least one of the airborne dumpsters has offloaded on South Korea's presidential compound.
Balloons carrying trash float into South Korea. They're the latest sent by authorities in the north. This is the waste one of the balloons deposited. South Korea says another one came down near the presidential compound in Seoul. It was said to contain no harmful material. In recent days, South Korea's army has stepped up its loudspeaker broadcasters targeting the north.
The military is broadcasting propaganda on all fronts. We can't give you specific details on what or where it is being broadcast. We are monitoring the North Korean military.
The broadcasts featured K-pop songs and news on a North Korean diplomat's defection, aiming to demoralize frontline North Korean troops.
We think the broadcasts will have effects such as internal disturbance, defection, and weakening their discipline.
South Korean activists and defectors too have long sent propaganda balloons into North Korea. Since May, North Korea has sent thousands of trash-filled balloons, further escalating tensions between the two countries.
Joining me now is Eric Balbach. He's an expert on North and South Korea from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Welcome to DW. Now, North Korea, we heard it there, has sent thousands of these trash balloons over the border to the south already. What are they hoping to achieve?
Well, this is a return to classical Cold War tactics we see from both North and South Korea used at the moment. It is a long-standing tradition, so to say, on the Korean Peninsula to use these kinds of balloons has been traditionally been used since the end of the Korean War, and especially then during the heights of the Cold War era. It's a part of psychological warfare below the military level or direct military level, but still it sends a strong signal. The same way South Korea uses, or South Korean activists uses these balloons to transmit their messages. So North Korea signals with these balloons to the South Koreans this what Kim Jong-un's powerful sister described as a reaction to South Korean scum and dirty tactics.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. This is a tit for tat, right? South Korea is responding by setting up loudspeakers on the border, blaring out K-pop and propaganda messages against the regime in Pyongyang. Is this just a nuisance, or can it pose a real threat to Kim Jong-un's regime?
Well, these loudspeaker, they don't reach that far. You know, they reach into North Korea, of course. Some say they reach all the way up to Kaesong, but of course their reach is ultimately limited. So it's a limited tactic the South Koreans use here, as it will only reach a limited audience in North Korea. But we have to see this tit for tat at the moment in the broader spectrum of North Korea's and South Korea's inter-Korean relationship towards each other. And this has been rather moved to the brink during the last couple of months, with these balloons just being one, or loudspeaker messages just being one of the measures used by both sides in this ongoing tit for tat. And this can escalate, of course. Also, these are lower key measures, so to say.
And how big do you reckon is the risk of escalation at this point?
Well, as you mentioned before, you know, this so far, no truly harmful materials have been found, or in the sense that materials have been contained or something like this. But, you know, this can change. And of course, there is always a risk if you enter into one other's airspace, because especially in this border area between North and South Korea, these border regions are highly militarized. And this is the true danger of an escalation, that things can be, of course, shut down, and this can trigger a response then from the other side, so that these lower key measures can very rapidly escalate into military measures, and this is the risk we see.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that this is a return to Cold War tactics. Is there anything that we can learn from the past to kind of contextualize what is happening now and maybe contribute to a de-escalation?
Well, ultimately, this tit-for-tat game we are in at the moment can only be broken through dialogue, but the political framework at the moment is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to actually materialize, to implement a dialogue channel, a lasting dialogue channel between North and South Korea, or between other countries and North Korea for that matter. Since North Korea at the moment focuses very much on Russia and China in its foreign relations and has pretty much decoupled from the West and the Western allies. And this is the problem we are seeing at the moment, that it's extremely difficult to break this cycle, this vicious cycle at the moment, which ultimately can only be broken through dialogue and communication. But this is hard, extremely hard to do at the moment.
Eric Balbach from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Thank you so much for all those insights.
Thank you so much for having me.